133 courses from the University of Houston's core curriculum drawing pushback from some faculty members. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Tessa Barrera.
And I'm Michael Atkinson. We'll also talk with Elissa Freiha, founder of Womena, about the potential impact of conflict across the Middle East on women and families.
Plus, Prairie View A&M head football coach Tremaine Jackson will tell us about the inaugural Chancellor's Cup and the season ahead.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
All this and more here on Hello Houston, right after the news from NPR and News 88.7.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump's now threatening to extend the U.S.'s latest hefty tariffs on Canadian goods to imports of cars, trucks, auto parts, and steel as of the new year. He had already imposed 50% tariffs after Canadian Prime Minister Marque walked out of Friday's talks. He said the U.S. was pushing new, unfair terms. Carney is promising tit-for-tat levies on American goods. Former Canadian diplomat Colin Robertson says fertilizer to Midwest farmers stands to be affected.
We also provide electricity from Ontario to the Northeast, and the Premier, again, the Conservative Premier of Ontario, has said, well, maybe we'll put a tax on that as well. So there are things that Canada could do that would hurt Canadians and hurt Americans.
But U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer says Canada stands to suffer more than the U.S.
I think this is a little bit of a tempest in a teapot. The tariffs went into place over the weekend, which we warned about for a long time. They only cover about 5% of Canadian trade and only 0.06% of U.S. overall consumption.
Meanwhile, the U.S. is preparing to launch intensified economic warfare on Iran. This afternoon, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is expected to disclose details of a strategy designed to financially isolate Iran with major sanctions against that country. That includes pressure on other countries to refrain from doing business with Iran. The U.S. already has a naval blockade on the country. NPR's Emily Fang has more.
Alan Ayer was a longtime American diplomat and a former member of the U.S.'s nuclear negotiating team until 2015. He's very familiar with the nearly 5-decade history of American sanctions on Iran.
When it comes to sanctions, we've done the low-hanging fruit, the mid-hanging fruit, the high-hanging fruit, the tree, so there are no new sanctions that are effective.
Meaning little is left to impose new sanctions on. Bessent and Trump have said they will target countries and governments that host entities which help Iran evade penalties. Emily Fang, NPR News, Washington.
The fast-moving hawk fire near Reno, Nevada has grown to more than 15,000 acres, 0% contained. Hundreds of people spent the night at an evacuation center. Others slept in their cars and RVs after being evacuated. Maria Palma of member station KUNR has the latest.
The Red Cross is running the evacuation center, which has a capacity of 900 beds. About 90,000 people are in the combined evacuation and get set to evacuate areas. The Washoe County School District canceled classes for all schools today. NV Energy says about 10,000 customers in northern Nevada are without power. Fire officials say several homes have been lost, but don't have an exact number. Road closures and evacuations are causing traffic delays in the area. Some residents reported being stuck in traffic for up to 4 hours as they tried to evacuate. And the Washoe County Sheriff's Office says the fire was human-caused.
That's Maria Palma reporting. It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Shelby Rose. President Donald Trump will present the Artemis II crew with Congressional Space Medals of Honor at the Johnson Space Center Friday, marking the crew's historic lunar flyby mission in April. Meanwhile, NASA wants to start sending uncrewed missions to the moon this year to begin building a lunar base. New research shows microorganisms may be able to survive on certain parts of the moon. News 88.7's Michael Atkinson explains.
The moon's south pole doesn't get as much sunlight as other regions. That means rock formations and craters cast longer shadows, which researchers now say could make it easier for bacteria and other microbes to survive on the moon in those shadows, protected from the sun's radiation. While that could yield interesting research, it could also pose a problem. Humans carry millions of microbes on their skin. When NASA begins to send humans to the moon with Artemis 4 in 2028 and eventually build a permanent lunar base on the South Pole, humans could bring those microbes to the moon. Scientists say that might make it difficult to research what chemistry makes up the moon and what biology humans have brought to it. I'm Michael Atkinson, News 88.7.
The Houston Astros have parted ways with general manager Dana Brown. The team announced earlier this morning Brown had been with the Astros since 2023, with his contract set to expire at the end of this season. But this is on the heels of a losing series against the Athletics, the worst team in baseball right now. Here's Jeff Bulkey, the host of the Believe in Astros podcast on Houston Matters today.
Their pitching has been awful, particularly their starting rotation pitching. And when you look at it, every move that Dana Brown made to sort of bolster that has flopped.
Brown's responsibilities are now in the hands of the team's assistant general managers as well as Hall of Famer Jeff Bagwell. And the mayor of Marque has been released on $75,000 bond after being arrested last Friday. Keith Bell was arrested on a Class B misdemeanor charge of indecent exposure. The city says he will remain in office unless he resigns or is removed under city charter and law. Bell has not publicly responded to these allegations. I'm Shelby Rose, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Made in Cookware. Made in Cookware is crafted by chefs for use in restaurants and home kitchens around the world. Their cookware can be found at madeincookware.com. This is NPR.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now your hosts for Hello Houston, Ernie Manouse and Tessa Barrera.
Well, hello, happy Monday. I'm Tessa Barrera, and I'm not with Ernie Manouse on this cheery Monday, but I do have someone in the chair who has been in the chair probably more than me, Michael Atkinson. How are you on this Monday?
I'm doing well. It's fun to pretend to be Ernie. I'm sitting in his chair. What's funny is I walked in here, obviously before, so this is your seat. When we had guest hosts, I would sit in that seat, and when I walked in, I was like, I have to sit in Ernie's seat.
Alternate universe, yes. The upside down.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy, but I'm happy to be here. I know we're gonna miss Ernie today, but we've gotten excited about this show.
We have, and I think Michael and I, obviously, he is a true veteran. He's been in the Houston Public Media game for a while, and we're just gonna have a ton of fun. We want to say hi to all of our YouTube viewers, our HuTubers, youtube.com/Houston Public Media. Remember, when you have an opinion, because we hope you're gonna have some today, you can call or text us 713-440-8870. So before we get into the good stuff, let's talk about the great stuff. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. Had a lot of fun. We went to go see the new Anthony Bourdain movie that just came out. Really good.
Okay.
We really liked it. A lot of fun. I'm picky about movies about real people,
as you should be.
As I should be.
Yeah,
because sometimes they're so cheesy where I'm really particular about the scripting of when they try to drop little facts or little historical, where it's like,
right,
oh, this isn't my first time going through all this because I did this in 1947. I hate when they do that. And so it was very well written. Sure enough, I go online to look up afterward how true it was, and it's like, oh, basically none of it.
No,
that it's like all inspired by his experience, Anthony Bourdain's experience, like, coming up, becoming a chef and everything like that, but that all the specifics of the story,
like the ones you really like,
didn't happen.
So you were entertained. See, it's like, where do you draw the line? Because obviously you want to make a good, entertaining movie. You want to make a quality film.
Right.
But how many, exceptions do you make in order to make it entertaining? I'd rather, if I'm going to sit down, I have been known to walk out of a theater. Like, if it's not good, life is too short to finish bad movies, to finish bad books, anything like that. So you would recommend someone see it?
It was really good. Like,
okay.
I was thoroughly engaged,
Who
thoroughly
plays
entertained.
Him?
Oh my God, Dominic Sessa, is that his name? Did you see The Holdovers that came out a couple years ago? It was like his first movie, and he plays him. So he's a young guy, up and coming. The sort of, you bring up a really good point that I sort of was reconciling. I hate to say it was reconciling. I saw a movie on Saturday night.
Yeah.
This idea of, like, where does the journalism begin and where does the art begin? You know, how do you balance those? And I sort of the conclusion that I came to as someone who enjoyed that movie and thought it was really well made. I was like, it's more like a legend of Anthony Bourdain. It's not like his life story. It's like a legend about him almost.
Which you know what, he was iconic and he was legendary, and he's a great reminder. I mean, some of his quotes, I mean, they still ring true as ever. And I mean, his Houston show, well, the episode he did in Houston, I mean, people still talk about that all the time. It's iconic. It is legendary.
It's so legendary.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you? How was your weekend?
Weekend was so full of adulting. I don't even want to talk about it. I have been like, I pride myself. Ernie says, you live such an exciting life. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. You know, get out there, have fun, go here, party here. There was none of that this weekend. It was like adulting. It was a recovery weekend. It was also like it was moving things. It was not fun. And then it's like that Blink-182 song, I guess this is growing up. It was bad. But it was my brother's. My brother had fun. It was my brother's birthday.
Oh, fun.
And he went to Denver and he was doing all the things. So I was living a little bit vicariously.
There you go. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Him.
That may be the first time Blink-182 has been mentioned in the Hello Houston.
And hopefully not the last. And you know why I say that? Hillary Duff has a cover of I Guess This Is Growing Up.
Does she really?
She really does. And I found that out this weekend when I was looking for a song to put over my brother's. Do you have people like that? My mom and my brother, they are waiting for me to make a Facebook post about them on their birthday.
Oh, yes.
They're like, I didn't see you wish me a happy birthday
Sometimes
yet.
I'm that person, though. It's unfortunate.
Where is my tribute? Where is my Facebook tribute?
Yes.
And so when I was making that, I go, oh, Hillary Duff covers Blink-182. Okay, yes, I used to be in radio, FM, pop radio.
That's okay. That's okay.
and alternate, music. So I'm well versed. You want to get into some headlines?
Let's do it. Let's
talk about the big one. The big sports headline, and we're going to give you the fans' perspective because by now you may have heard the Houston Astros GM Dana Brown is parting ways with the Astros after 4 seasons. This is a statement that was released by the team this morning. The Astros, I mean, they are tied with the Rangers for first place in the American League West. But this firing comes because apparently they couldn't get it together versus teams that they should have gotten it together on. They lost at home, which it is so expensive. Astros, the Houston Astros, this is a not so fun fact if you're a fan. It's one of the most expensive ball games to attend.
Is it really?
It is. It's like the Cubs, the Yankees, and the Astros.
Wow.
Yeah, so the tickets aren't cheap. Now, don't get me wrong. I also think it's one of the funnest
sure. There's nothing like going to a baseball game.
And if you've ever been to baseball games in other cities where the teams are like the fans don't care.
Yep.
It is a snooze fest. So it is a very fun place. But yeah, it costs a pretty penny to go to one of these games. So I think you got to perform for the fans at home.
Yeah.
If they're spending all this money to see you, you got to win some ball games. And Houston fans concerning baseball are extremely, extremely spoiled. What did you make? Did you make anything of this news?
I mean, so I'm not the biggest baseball watcher.
Okay.
There's nothing like going to a baseball game for me. I'm the same as you. It's like, when you're in the stands, it is just a thrill. You're having so much fun. You've got your cheap hot dog. You've got your cheap beer. Love
$1 hot dog.
Right, $1 hot dog. It's just, you can't beat that. That's just what America's all about.
Exactly.
American dream right there. But I don't love watching it at home because I'm not experiencing it all.
Right.
And so for me, it is like, to your point about you don't want to disappoint the fans. It's like I'm already on the periphery, and if you're not performing as well, then I'm like, what's the justification? What do I gain from watching all this? So. I also should admit, conflict of interest. I grew up in a Rangers household. We're from.
Boo,
I know.
Tomato. The Rangers, really?
We're from Dallas originally.
Okay,
so,
I'm sorry. I'm glad you're here.
I'm sorry. One of my fun facts, because again, not a huge baseball watcher, but of the few baseball games I've been to, one of the ones was that 2015 game between the Rangers and the Toronto Blue Jays where they came off the bench and fought each other. I was at that game
when they went to fisticuffs.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can count how many baseball games I've been to on 2 hands, and that was one of them.
Oh my God! Well, there you go. That's one way to remember a baseball game. All I did read in the I think it was in the Chronicle this morning. They were saying that Brown,
back to the actual news.
Dana Brown he had a hand in the Kyle Tucker trade, and that was brutal because King Tuck. I mean, I'm sure you know that. He was one of our best hitters, fielders, Golden Glove winner. That was brutal. But we've, as Astros fans, have had to see like our whole star lineup just being traded. I have so many jerseys that are not relevant anymore because everyone's gone.
And it's like when you lose 6 to the 8 matches of the last 8 matches, it's like there's only so much time you have, essentially.
Right. So you got to make moves. Okay, there you go. There's your sports report with Michael and Tessa.
We did our best.
Okay, let's talk a little bit of education because the University of Houston System Board of Regents unanimously approved the removal of 133 courses from the University of Houston's core curriculum. This happened during a meeting on Thursday, and it drew some pushback from faculty members. Some of the classes removed from the core curriculum of U of H include those discussing race and gender. So, Introduction to LGBT Studies, Women and Gender in Arabic Literature, and Intro to Global Climate Change. However, not all courses related to gender or race were removed, and several history courses, including those about Chicano history, U.S. women's history, and African American history, those all remain as part of the core classes. This is according to that list that was approved on Thursday. Michael, take me through this because this is a story you are well versed in.
Right. So this is all in relation to Senate Bill 37, which was passed, I believe, in the most recent Texas legislature. And essentially the idea was this is just another chapter in Texas government officials saying, yes, because these universities get taxpayer money, we have jurisdiction over how they should operate. This all goes back. I mean, send your mind back. This all goes back to critical race theory and the extension of that, because there were a lot of college professors who said essentially, government officials should not dictate how we teach in public higher education. And Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick really led the cause and said, yes, we do. It's taxpayer money. We do have a say in what you guys teach. And so that's what led to the ban on CRT being taught in schools and higher education. And that now led to, several other policies that really reined in what higher ed teachers can and can't do. Senate Bill 37 was the latest version of that. So it's the one that really dissolved Senate faculties or faculty senates rather in higher education. So it's like, they have less oversight of themselves. And then, of course, now they have to be in compliance with what they can and can't teach. And so this is not just a University of Houston thing we should mention. Most, if not all, higher education institutions are going through their curriculum right now and saying what classes they can and can't do. I believe UT has released some of the classes that they've cut. I'm trying to think what else. I want to say Texas Tech has also done that.
Okay.
So University of Houston is not alone, but they're the latest ones to have to do this and publicly say we're doing this.
I mean, so that's super relevant because I'd be really interested to see what classes were cut from UT. I mean, U of H, you have to throw U of H in there. These are growing Texas schools that have extra high, enrollment numbers. And I'm also, when I say things like when I say, okay, intro to global climate change, that seems like a pertinent issue. Some of these things, women and gender in Arabic literature, that seems really super hyper focused.
Yep.
But also, important,
right?
Important. And I know they just issued this list, but I would be interested in what the feedback of the students and the faculty is, like what they really think about. And the faculty that used to teach these courses, hey, you no longer get a course. I just wonder what their feedback would be.
Absolutely. And if you're listening, 713-440-8870, let us know your thoughts. What I'll add to that is I think what makes this issue so interesting and I hate to say fun to talk about, but it's a fascinating subject, is it really speaks to this sort of, higher issue or higher level issue of what does it mean to have higher education? What does it mean to study in university?
Absolutely.
Is it about job security, which is what a lot of the people supporting these laws have said, is that, what job are you going to get when you study LGBTQ studies, or that's the argument that a lot of people have said, is that these are not going to lead to jobs. But there is a class of people who say, no, higher education is about learning about the world around you. And this is, even though these are very niche topics, as you were saying, these are what's going to help me process the world around me and learn more. And so it is just this higher level concept.
So many businesses and marketing teams make bad decisions because they don't understand the ins and outs of feminism, or they're not empathizing with other races. And I know Bauer, institutions close to at U of H, they pride themselves in making their students workforce ready, right? Workforce ready. Like they say, okay, while these institutions are complaining that they can't get a job out of college, our kids are ready. They're employable.
Right.
So that is a big brag. It is it is the flex. But at the same time, what are you sacrificing at the end? So it's a good conversation. And again, you can always call or text us. We are going to go to a moon story now. Tell us all about this.
I know, and this is a story I did, but it's very, very difficult, so I'm like sending my brain back. But as soon as later this year, you may have heard NASA could begin the development of a lunar base. Early missions are expected to be uncrewed, but when humans eventually do return to the moon's south pole, they'll bring billions of microorganisms with them, and new research indicates that those microorganisms, also called microbes, could survive on parts of the moon's south pole. That was in a paper published last week in Science Advances by NASA researchers, including one from the Houston Johnson Space Center, that found that there are certain, quote, survivable niches for those microbes on the southernmost portion of the moon. It all has to do with the way that the sun reflects on those moons. You picture the terrain and the lunar south pole, the shadows are long, and so those microorganisms can just live in the shadows, they found out. So humans have all these microbes on them, including bacteria, millions on their flesh at any given moment, and it's possible they could bring them with them to the moon. The difficulty that's going to come with all of this is the fact that now, as we're studying the moon's composition and going on all these lunar missions, we're not going to know where the lunar chemistry begins and where humans have brought microorganisms with them. So it's
Right.
going to really pose an issue as we begin researching the moon, and that moon base is going to be on the South Pole, as NASA has announced. That's going to be because of the scientific value and potential for long-term exploration, is what NASA has said. Your thoughts about the moon base and what's going to happen next, give us a call, 713-440-8870. You can also text that number. I always say, as we're ramping up this NASA coverage, moon base is one of those ones that's like, I feel like I'm in a movie. I feel like I'm in science fiction.
Absolutely sounds like the plot. It's a plot that's going to thicken, and you could totally make a theater production out of it.
Right.
When you talk about it, Michael, it does excite me. It does excite me. When I read it on my own, I don't get excited. I'm like, why are we going to the moon when there's so much? I'm an explore the ocean type of girl.
I like it. Yeah.
I'm like, go find out if there's mermaids versus let's go start another life.
Yep.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
This was the correlation I made. It's like when people are in a relationship and instead of working on themselves, they go, I'm just going to go to this other relationship and see if I can work it out over here.
Right.
Like, why are we going to the moon? There's so much here. We talk about climate change. We talk about deforestation.
Yep.
We spend so much money on space exploration. And in the space city, I know I'm going to get nailed for that. It's like, yeah, dude, this is NASA. This is where we do that. This is where the space exploration starts. But yeah, I'm more of a water our earth grass to make sure it's green. But
Right.
I do get excited about, the people that have dedicated their lives to space exploration. And is the moon just seems so desolate.
Yeah.
Like, is that's where our base will be? It'll be up to us to make it
I know.
nice.
It's one of, sometimes I can't wrap my head around electricity and like how it's generated, and I
Right.
know that sounds really stupid, but sometimes I'm like, how are we going to get electricity on the moon? Like, how is that going to work? Obviously they have solar power, but the whole what I said about the shadows with the south pole of the moon, you don't get as much sun, so it's like, how are they going to make this work? That is a question for someone much smarter than I am. But no, it is fascinating to talk about. And again, just what I was saying about higher education, it's one of those bigger questions that makes it more fun to report about, is like lunar exploration. What is it going to mean? What are we going to do? Questions about who we are, our place in the universe, and everything like that. That makes it a lot of fun.
It is fun, and I like the idea of like, hey, we've been to the moon so many times. Was this microorganism here, or have we just been here enough time that our bacteria is lingering on the moon? I love it. Okay, listen. Coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to talk with the founder of Womena. It's Elissa Freiha, and we'll talk about the potential impact of conflict across the Middle East on women and families. It's a great topic. Don't go anywhere. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Houston Public Media gives us content that we don't get from commercial resources.
Houston Public Media is my pathway to being a well-informed citizen of the Houston community.
Free journalism provided by Houston Public Media and provides a concise perspective on the morning's news.
Houston Public Media helps strengthen our community.
That's why Houston Public Media is for listeners and viewers like me.
You can hear it tonight. It's on at 11 o'clock.
Long-term drought out here in the American West means water companies have to get creative to enforce the rules.
So we are able to pair aerial photography with customer accounts.
I'm Kai Risdal. Turns out they really are watching. We'll have that story for you. The numbers from Wall Street and the rest of the day's business news next time on Marketplace.
Listen to Marketplace tonight at 6:30.
PBS Drama on HPM Plus.
The dramas you can't stop watching. Now in one place. Stream on demand. Catch up on past seasons with Passport. Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs.
HPM Plus.
This programming is made possible by Kevin Coolish and Beverly McPhail, supporting media that's free from commercial influence and grounded in journalistic integrity, because trust in news matters, now more than ever.
Support comes from Chariot Energy, a member of Hanwha Energy USA, a retail electricity provider offering simple, sustainable energy plans to residential and commercial customers. Details and plan options available at chariotenergy.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from CenterPoint Energy, improving storm awareness by installing over 150 advanced weather stations to help crews be prepared to respond when conditions change.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Tessa Barrera and Michael Atkinson.
As tensions between the United States and Iran continue to rise, much of the focus is on military action and geopolitics. But what does this wider conflict mean for women and families across the Middle East? Women are often among the most affected by the war, and from disruptions to healthcare and education to displacement and economic uncertainty, those are all factors facing women in the Arab world. So joining us to talk about all this is Elissa Freiha. She's the founder of Womena, a platform dedicated to amplifying the voices of women across the Arab world. Elissa, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Of course, we're so happy to have you. This is a heavy topic, that being said. Kind of set the scene for us. What and I know that this is almost like an overgeneralization, but when you look at the scope of families and women that live in countries like Iran, how would you characterize it for people who may not know?
Well, I wouldn't even say it's like an oversimplification. I would say it's like a generalization. You can't, I couldn't necessarily tell you exactly what the life of somebody in Iran is like right now, because it depends on where they are in Iran. It also depends on what socioeconomic status that they have. And right now, as we know, information is really limited. So at least what we do at Womena is, if we're going to be talking about a subject like the war in Iran, we're going to try to get people that are on the ground in the country, in the city, to be telling you their honest to God firsthand experience of whatever they're going through.
And to that point, can you tell us some of the experiences that you have heard? I know that these would be individuals rather than overgeneralizations, as we said, but what have you heard from some of the people who are experiencing all this firsthand?
I mean, I think across the region, it's a very confusing and disheartening time for people, because the type of conflict that we're seeing right now isn't like any conflict that we've had in the past. And even though this seems like a region that is rife with conflict, that's very much like an Americanization of what happens in the Middle East. So I know that a lot of people are just very scared because of the uncertainty of how things are going. Like the rule of law is just out the window. We can't trust anything that any politicians are saying. It's not just a simple war with one country and another. There are multiple countries that are fighting each other, and there's proxy wars happening with those countries on other land. So I think when it comes to the individual civilians that are deeply affected by this, the main universal feeling is one of like just complete confusion and inability to make plans, because you're kind of waiting for things to happen in real time, which isn't something that, has happened in conflict before. Usually in conflict, you get some sort of warnings ahead of time. You have statements from world leaders that tell you what might happen. So you have time to prepare. You have time to check in on your loved ones. You have time to plan your own evacuation. You're able to communicate with people. And now all of that is out the window. So it's a very specific case that we're seeing right now. And I think people are just lost for words and just trying to find some sort of guidance or a touchstone to hold on to.
Elissa, what work is Womena doing to kind of ensure that we are getting grassroots feedback from the community that is actually there? How do you even go about that? It seems like such a tall order, such a big task. How do you do it?
To be honest, it's only a tall order if you are heavily limiting yourself and the people you speak to.
I see.
For Womena, what's most important for us is to have the real individuals from our community, so usually young Arab women, who are well-read, educated, and well-spoken, who are able to just communicate honestly their experience. And we have this experience with situations across the region, whether it's conflict in Lebanon or it's conflict in Palestine. What we do is we go on the ground and we find writers that we've worked with, sometimes filmmakers, producers, musicians, creatives. We work with a lot of creatives and artists. Sometimes it's them, sometimes it's their family members, sometimes it's a generational conversation. And we have them speak on the most pressing element that's real to them in that moment. Like I'm not news. We don't do news at Womena. What we do is just an honest representation of the Arab female and diaspora. And so I ask them, well, what is most pertinent to you right now? What are the things you're really struggling with? What are the questions that you're asking them yourself? And I have them kind of guide the angle of the story that we're going to be telling.
What is the biggest thing that you've learned since creating Womena? I mean, I know you created this out of a need to kind of deflect stereotypes, and you were actually quoted on the Girl Talk HQ website as saying, "We are the antidote to the patriarchal toxicity that the world is suffering from today." How are you going about that? What are you learning?
I mean, let me tell you, the first thing I learned is that the struggle of Arab women is more universal than people give it credit for. I mean, you're going to get women in the United States right now who are going to be telling you that their rights are being taken away and that they're being oppressed and suppressed in certain ways, and that there are grassroots movements that are trying to better their situation. You have the same thing happening in Egypt. So the first thing I ever really understood was that the struggle that I had for such a long time isolated to the region is actually a much more universal and global struggle. And you see the same thing with women in France, Germany, China, the US, wherever you drop the map, women and girls are the ones that are suffering at the hands of this patriarchal structure that a lot of crazy people are trying to keep up. And the second thing I would say is that the more minute the story that we're telling, like the more focused and specific the story is, the more it relates to people across the world. So that's why I ask Arab women to really tell me about their current experience, regardless of what that is because you wouldn't expect that story to be something that resonates with, somebody in Houston, Texas, when absolutely it does, because the struggle is actually a lot more relatable. We are so much more similar than we are different.
Yeah, you talk about, I was particularly struck by what you said about the sort of universality of the female experience, that it translates across cultures. I was thinking about, one form of Iranian art that a woman has made is Persepolis, which is, so iconic in the industry.
Of course, Marjane Satrapi.
Exactly. Her autobiographical experience of talking about growing up during the Iranian Revolution in the late 1970s. And I remember watching the movie when it came out growing up and remembering all the stuff about punk rock and the outfits that they wanted to wear and thinking this is so relatable. It's so, just it's so Western, and it's so not the single image that people have of Iran and what the female experience is like over there. So it is just like they're humans at the end of the day, and relating to that and understanding and finding those stories that people can understand and relate to. And it is sometimes just talking about music and aspirations of listening to more music, kind of like in Persepolis.
You're completely right, Michael. I remember reading that book in high school, and Marjane Satrapi was coming to speak at our school in Paris, where I grew up. And I remember being seen, like feeling seen for one of the first times, I think, in literature, because I was reading about somebody that was from a culture adjacent to mine. I mean, let's say Persian culture is traditionally very different to like Arabic culture, but regionally, again, there are so many similarities. And a moody teenager is going to be a moody teenager, you know, wherever you get them. Like they could be a refugee or like I don't know, like a rich kid from Beverly Hills, and they're going to be rebelling against their parents, however their parents were. It doesn't matter. So that universality for me is like really at the crux of things, because I think the biggest element that I'm trying to tackle is the dehumanization of the other that we see so often in mainstream media. And Arab women have been othered so much. I mean, women of color across the world, but Arab women have really been othered to such a degree that we're almost like this black box of like unknown, untalked about, like this mysterious, fetishized, oriental, you know, thing. But I mean, really, we are all women. We all share very similar experiences. We're all, you know, fed up with the husband not doing the dishes. We're all going through the same struggles. Why didn't he text me back? Or my girlfriend, you know, had got a new job and I haven't seen her in 6 months and I feel lonely. I mean, these like simple experiences are things that everybody goes through. And for me, the antidote that you mentioned earlier, and the beauty that came from Persepolis and from Marjane Satrapi's work, is that she really made you see yourself in her. And that is the first brick of that bridge that gives people the compassion and the understanding of the other that they otherwise might not have. And that compassion for me is like life-changing. That's what's hopefully going to change enough minds so that they really humanize all these people that are suffering, and hopefully they don't engage politically in such violent ways against them.
We are talking with Elissa Freiha. She is the founder of Womena. We're talking about the potential impact of conflict across the Middle East on women and families. If you'd like to join in on the conversation, you can call or text us at 713-440-8870. We did have a commenter on our YouTube channel from Resin_8. They say, my mom lived in Tehran as a girl, and it's wild to see how far the Islamic Revolution has changed humanity. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Oh my God. I mean, so many things have changed humanity. Let's talk. The Islamic Revolution, in Iran is very different than the type of Islam that you see in other parts of the Middle East. And I think that's something that is also very important to isolate and for people to educate themselves on and to read about, because it was world changing in I guess many ways when it comes to just Iran. But if you go into the entire world politics, and the U.S. has banked on this a lot, you do see that there's now this kind of like boogeyman in the region that's been created. One, because the U.S. helped the brotherhood that runs Iran right now get into power, but also you see that this boogeyman of like bad Islam is personified through the Iranian regime, when that is not at all the case. It's like anything. It's like in Christianity, when you have Christian fundamentalists and extremists that are going to completely bastardize the beauty of Christianity. So again, I think it's very important that people educate themselves on like the politics and the power behind the religious, you know, aspect of things. And if they want to see, you know, Islam in its best, they should go to the UAE and they should see how the Emirates is like a beautiful beacon of like what Islam really has at the heart of it, you know, which is tolerance and kindness and openness to all.
I'm curious, you know, placing all this in the context of where we are now, that you know, what comes to mind for me is the protests that happened in Iran in late 2022, early 2023. As many women came forward and shared their stories about what it was like to live in Iran and demonstrated out in the streets, and you had these wide, massive protests in Iran. What did demonstrations like that do for your work in showing the female experience in Iran? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that any of these protests do anything, you know, positive, I guess, for my work. If anything, it just brings about global attention and dialogue to the subject at hand, which is that across the board, patriarchal systems of power are completely manipulated by people in power who want to oppress the other. And for some mystical reason, women, whether it's in Iran, it's in the US, it's in China, women are like this scary thing that everybody wants to just squash down and cover up and hide. And that is like cross-cultural, cross-religion, global. So, I mean, I think if anything, it just maybe got people's attention focused more on the region, and then a dialogue as to what is actually happening in our part of the world. What are people really doing? Oh, there are people that are rising up and speaking for themselves, and women who have these incredible voices and this fearlessness, putting themselves out there in front of these very oppressive, men in power. And that, for me, like if I look at, when I tell stories or I look at some of these activists who fought against the Iranian regime by either showing their hair or, one girl I a few months ago was walking around her campus in her underwear as a protest of like being forced to cover up. I mean, for me, this is something where I and I know that a lot of my community get inspired by things like this, because if there's these people with the confidence and the audacity to fight a system and put themselves out there in such a vulnerable position where the consequences are dire, then why are we not doing what little we can in our own communities where we are?
And to that point, what little can we do for those who aren't educated, who you are trying to, break stereotypes? They can be so frustrating for women, for Iranian women, especially now in a time of regional conflict. What are the small things that the everyday person can do?
Well, firstly, I would say try to educate yourself as much as possible, and do so through voices that are on the ground in the places you're trying to learn about. Like, don't get your Middle Eastern news from, some Irish guy in Massachusetts. Get your news from the ground. Look for creators online. And again, Instagram is like an amazing platform for this, even though it has other problems. But you can find on the ground creators, and Womena shares this every time things kind of flare up in the region. Again, we're not a news organization. What we do is we amplify, and we'll always share, here's a list of voices that you can follow for the conflict in Iran. Here's a list of voices you can follow for what's going on in Palestine. And ask your local, community, like look at your local community and see how you can help. I know that there's the Elif region in Houston that's like very popping right now culturally, and it has a lot of people from around the world, especially some amazing like Arab diaspora there. So let them tell you about what it's like in their home countries, and hear it directly from the horse's mouth.
We've been talking a lot about stories and the stories that you want to amplify and share those. I'm curious if there's one in particular that you might be able to share that has really resonated with you or stuck with you. Just a summary, if you will, of a story that's really that you think about frequently, that from women in these countries. I know that's a big question.
Yeah, I mean, that's like my day-to-day is listening to stories over and over again, and from Morocco to Libya to Tunisia to Iraq and Iran and Lebanon and Palestine and Jordan and all these places. I'll tell you two quick ones. One for me that I do think about often is an amazing yoga instructor and YouTuber called Shadan, who was the first like Arabic language yogi to go on YouTube and do yoga in Arabic for people to follow. And what was incredible is that she's Palestinian, and she started this YouTube channel in Palestine. And the way that she would talk about what yoga and meditation did for her, it's something that I think about so often, because there's a phrase that stays in my mind where she says, I'm always looking at how to create inner peace when peace outside is limited. And so that is something that I think is very relatable to everybody. It's like, well, my life is so chaotic right now. I have so much stuff to do at work. I have so much stuff I have to do for my family. I don't even find time for myself. But how do I just take those moments to really find inner peace within me so that I can move through the world in a much more calm place? Like that story for me resonates so much in my day-to-day life. And for somebody in such difficult circumstances to be moving through the world with peace, I think is like a beautiful lesson to learn. And the second element that I would love, the second story that I love is I was walking around in Boston when a girl ran up to me, and I was speaking at MIT, and she came up to me and she said, "Oh my God, I recognize you from your videos online and what you do at Womena. I'm so excited about it." And she mentioned one of the docuseries that we did on women entrepreneurs. And she basically told me that that docuseries was what convinced her family to allow her to be the first person in her family to leave the country for their education, to actually go to the US alone as a woman and study at MIT, one of the finest institutions for technology. And that was what really made me realize, oh, wow, this small ripple of something I thought was cool in the moment. Like I thought maybe I wanted to humanize Arab women, show how we're founders of companies and get people to take them seriously in like a boardroom. I didn't realize that it would have like generational ripples. So that would change someone's life and their trajectory. And I think that has always informed my and my team's work at Womena, because we know that our content influences people to make their lives better. That's the mission. The mission is to make people's lives better because they can choose more authentically for themselves. These stories help anyone who listens to them, hopefully, to be more confident to choose more for themselves. So both of those stories that I just told are things that are always around me when I'm working.
Elissa Freiha, those were great stories.
Very much.
We unfortunately have to put a pin in it there, but we want to remind you that Elissa is the founder of Womena. Thank you so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having me. It's amazing to be here.
Coming up, Prairie View A&M head football coach Tremaine Jackson. We're going to talk sports. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
With federal support gone, Houston Public Media needs a stronger foundation for the future. The Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund is our response to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and community-powered. Your gift today helps us stay on the air tomorrow and the day after that. Give now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Just a background in the garage, put it to work for Houston Public Media. We'll take your car, truck, and so much more in any condition. It's free for you, and you'll support the local journalism you rely on. Learn more at houstonpublicmedia.org/cars.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from CertaPro Painters, offering residential and commercial painting services, from color consultations to full project management. Estimates and more at CertaPro.com.
Support comes from Incogni, a personal data removal service that submits requests to data brokers on behalf of users, allowing users to monitor their request status online. More at incogni.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. With over 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
Support comes from Moody Center for the Arts at Rice University, presenting Radiant Geometries. Contemporary artists explore expressions of math, science, and technology through indigenous knowledge. Reception September 4th, 6 to 8 p.m. moody.rice.edu.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from J.P. Morgan Chase, committed to investing in the people of Texas and supporting access to resources that help foster community and economic growth. More at jpmorganchase.com/Texas.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Tessa Barrera and Michael Atkinson.
History is on the line this weekend as Prairie View A&M takes on Tarleton State in a brand new matchup. The August 29th game marks the inaugural Chancellor's Cup. It brings two Texas A&M University System schools in for the first time in football. So for Prairie View, it's also the start of a season with high expectations after the Panthers won the Southwestern Athletic Conference Championship last year. So we are so delighted. Joining us now is Prairie View A&M head football coach Tremaine Jackson. Tremaine, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Okay, we're so glad to have you here. Can you get people up to speed as to why everyone is going to be giving you their A game this season? You guys had a really, really killer season last year. Can you kind of sum it up for us?
Yeah, I think when people have an opportunity to face championship programs, then they want to prove that they belong. And so we'll definitely get everybody's best shot, but that's normal for us. From where we came from, where we've been, we've always gotten everybody's best shot. And so we're just excited to be in the situation where people want to give us their best shot, because we certainly don't want to be on the other side where people overlook us.
Okay, Coach, tell us how practices have been going. Did you have practice this morning? What is the vibe in the locker room as you guys prepare? There is so much preparation that has to go on before you guys really, like they say, going into battle. You guys are going into battles very soon.
Yeah, so we've been in for a month in fall camp, and school just started today, so there's no practice today. Certainly don't want to get into the chaos of the first day of school, but we'll get back at it tomorrow. And I think the guys are doing well. They understand. A lot of them return. They understand how we do things, and so it's not like last year was with everybody going through fall camp and all these first-time things. Our guys are locked in. We're ready to play. We understand what's at stake. When we got here, we said we wanted to be an elite football program. Elite football programs play elite people, and that's the opportunity that we have this week.
Do you feel pressure? You indicated a little bit earlier, but as we talk about, performing as well as you did last season, can the folks involved in training camp feel the pressure? Can you tell that as they're practicing?
Yeah, I don't think it's pressure. I think it's a privilege for us. I've been in some places as an assistant on the other side where you kind of knew what was going to happen before the season even started. Probably going to end up 3-9 and don't know if you're going to get fired or not. Well, this is the other side. It's championship or bust around here. And so I'd much rather be on this side. There is no outside pressure that is applied to us that we don't apply to ourselves. And whenever we think we're being pressured, we apply pressure back. And so I think we're really fortunate to be in the situation that we're in at Prairie View A&M, to where football is now important, because as we know, it's very important in our state and especially in the city of Houston.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the university's 150th anniversary year as well?
It is. It is. Kicked it off 2 weeks ago.
So this is a significant time for not only the football program, but for the school. And then there's a really fun thing. So the Texas A&M University system is launching this traveling trophy, right? And it'll celebrate the school pride across all 12 system universities. What does it mean for you? Because you're really leading the charge in this new tradition. What does it mean for you? Because we all have dreams and goals as young kids. And did you ever see yourself in this position?
No, the only position I ever wanted to be in was to help young people be grown people, right? And so certainly this is the opportunity that we have using the game of football. I will say this about the trophy. Anytime that we're playing for a trophy, we want to have the trophy. And that's just kind of who we are around here. And so we don't want to travel anywhere besides back to Prairie View, Texas. And so we can control that with the way that we play and the way that we go about our preparation. And so when we first signed the game, there was no trophy on the line. The trophy came about a month ago. As we were heading to media day, we found out that the Chancellor decided to make that move. And so certainly we had planned to go in and win regardless. Now that there's a trophy on the line, we certainly want to we like taking pictures with trophies around here. So certainly hopefully we can do that and then move on to the next game. It's just the beginning though, guys. I think people put a lot of stock on the beginning. We care about the end around here. And so we get a chance to get a good preview on what we're going to be. Hopefully we can get a win against a really good football team. But we're focused on December 12th and getting back to the Celebration Bowl. And everything between now and then just helps us get ready for that moment.
I like the image of you knew this game was coming up. We were like, yeah, we're gonna take it seriously. We're gonna win. And then, oh, there's a trophy on the line. Oh, now we gotta step up our game. I like that thought that it's like, oh, now we're serious about this.
Tell us about,
hopefully there's a couple of bonuses on the line.
I love a bonus for you. That's a good morale booster. Okay. Everyone likes that. Talk about how to prepare for a team. I mean, Charleston State, like I said, everyone's going to give you their best shot, but how do you prepare for a team that you have no film on from this new season? I mean, how do you get ready for a team like that?
Game ones are not about the opponent. It's about what you did in fall camp and what your rules are. And so I think it's the purest thing when people say, hey, it's about us, it's not about the opponent. Well, game one is really about us. It's really not about the opponent because you don't have any opponent footage. And so it's going to take a few series to get out there and get going. The atmosphere matters. Hopefully we get our guys prepared for those things. The weather, we're playing at 8 p.m. at night. So what does it feel like at 8 p.m. at night? How do we execute at 8 p.m. at night? Those are some things that we've been trying to work on and make sure we're ready for. But this is and always will be about us, especially in this moment that we have this Saturday.
Oh, well, also, it's televised as well, right? ESPN2 is going to televise this game. Can you talk about the importance of that? How HBUs are, maybe not often in the spotlight, but how they certainly deserve to be there?
And certainly, HBCUs are not on ESPN2 very often, which Prairie View A&M has the fortune of being on ESPN2 3 or 4 times this year.
Wow.
I think it speaks to where our university is. I think it speaks to the things that we've done in our football program from a social media standpoint, and people have taken notice of our guys and the way that our guys play football. Anytime you can be on a national stage where somebody in Ponticello, Idaho gets a chance to realize what Prairie View A&M is, that's a really good deal. Everybody in Texas should know what it is, but the people in Seattle, the people in New Hampshire, they might not know. But if they cut their TV on Saturday night at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern time, then they're going to get a chance to see what Prairie View A&M is about, and hopefully we put on a good product for them to see.
I think when we talk about university systems, in the academic sense, the system is the system. That it's all one big partnership. Essentially, you don't see a whole lot of variation from campus to campus. I'm speaking generally with systems. You don't always see schools within the system put against each other with a tournament like this. Do you feel rivalry with the other schools in the system, or have you talked to them? And is it like, oh, it's game on, or what is that relationship like?
We don't really talk. I don't have a lot of buddies. You find out when you get in this seat, you don't get a lot of pals, right? It's just the people that love you and the people that don't. What we have done is run across each other in recruiting. And I'll say this, Tarleton State is just it's the first system school that we play this year. We play East Texas A&M later on in the year, so we will have played 2 system schools by the time the season is over. And that's simply because in Texas, we have a lot of football, and we have a lot of FCS football, and so we're able to get this done. But those schools in the FCS in the state, in our system and not, they're really good in football. And we're just glad that we're mentioned amongst those that are, because I'm from Houston. I've been in this state my whole life. There was a time where Prairie View A&M was not mentioned amongst those schools. And so now that our football program is mentioned, we're excited about it. Now we want to finish the deal and go win. And then we can, when those things come up in recruiting, then we can always show people the trophy that we have.
Coach, how many kids, where does the roster come from? Is it mostly Houston kids? Is it West Texas kids? Is it all over? What is your roster comprised of?
Yeah, in the words of James Brown, it's East Coast to West Coast, tip to toe. We've got people from Indiana. We've got people from New Jersey. We've got people from Portland, Oregon, because Prairie View A&M is a nationwide product. Not every school can say that. We're the closest historical black college and university to California. And so we get a lot of people from the West that are looking for the HBCU experience. So we've got a nationwide roster. The majority of our guys are from Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi. So we have a lot of guys from the South. But when you look at our roster, we got 2 or 3 from over here in New Jersey, 2 or 3 from over here in Portland, a couple from California, some from Florida. So we're nationwide.
I love that.
Even one from Australia.
Oh, from down under. There's a Panther from down under.
From down under.
Okay, give me one more to sum up Panther football in one word. What do you say?
Dogmatic.
I love it. Tremaine Jackson is the Prairie View A&M head football coach. Tremaine, thank you so much for joining us on Hello Houston today.
Thank you. Go Panthers.
Coming up, we'll continue to discuss today's top headlines. We'll also learn the fact from fiction on how data centers work. So stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston on the way.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from the Grand 1894 Opera House in Galveston, presenting its 2026-27 season, including live music, Broadway musicals, and more, featuring John Mulaney, The Commodores, Waitress the Musical, and other performances. Tickets at thegrand.com.
Remember, you can watch Hello Houston on HPM Plus, free to download for smart TVs. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston, News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, Houston police released details on a recent police chase that didn't happen in a patrol unit, but in Uber. We'll discuss this and more of the day's top headlines. I'm Michael Atkinson.
And I'm Tessa Barrera. We'll also learn the fact from fiction on how data centers truly work. We'll talk with Energy Fellow at the University of Houston, Ed Hers.
Plus, UT Health Houston's Dr. Irene Stafford will tell us how college students can stay healthy as they head back to school.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us, talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston continues right after the news from NPR and News 88.7.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Iran says it will punish countries in the region if they cooperate with President Trump's new economic sanctions. They're set to be announced by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent today. This as Iran's economy is already in free fall from existing U.S. sanctions. Trump says the U.S. will punish countries that help Iran avoid sanctions. NPR's Hadil Al-Shalchi reports.
The Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baqai called the expected sanctions a form of economic terrorism to punish Iran. Iranian security chief Mohsen Rezai said that any country partnering in these new economic restrictions would be considered an enemy and that Iran will target their interests. Since the beginning of the war, Iran has targeted U.S. installations in Jordan and Gulf countries with drones and missiles. Rezai said that Iran would attack oil tankers leaving through the Persian Gulf through alternative routes. He added that, quote, not even a single drop of oil will leave the region. Hadil Al-Shalchi, NPR News, Istanbul.
President Trump is warning Canada that he will extend heightened tariffs on Canadian goods to large and small vehicles, auto parts, and steel as of January 1st. Trump threatens to increase the levies to 50% in a new social media post in which he accuses Canada of imposing unfair high tariffs on U.S. farmers. After talks collapsed over the weekend, the U.S. imposed 50% tariffs on a wide array of other Canadian goods. Canada has threatened retaliation. NPR's Scott Horsley reports on Trump's tariffs worldwide since he returned to office.
The average U.S. tariff on imports from around the world is now a little over 11%. That's about 4 times what it was when Trump returned to the White House last year. Some of the president's tariffs were struck down by the Supreme Court, and the administration's had to pay more than $100 billion in refunds. But they keep adding new tariffs, and as Prime Minister Carney noted this weekend, that means higher costs for U.S. consumers.
NPR's Scott Horsley reporting. Well, it has been nearly 2 weeks since a powerful storm ripped through Gary, Indiana, causing widespread power outages. It's been a slow process to get homeowners and businesses back up. Michael Puente with member station WBEZ has an update.
Relief is coming to the struggling Rust Belt city and the surrounding area, but just not quickly enough. The city estimates more than 2,000 structures suffered damage from fallen trees that blocked roads for days and caused at least 2 fatalities. Resident Vivian Woodson-Hodgkins is coping as best she can.
So what we do is we get up in the morning and we got to find something to eat because we can't store food in our refrigerator. So now we kind of depending on the giveaways and, whatever somebody has for us.
Utility provider Northern Indiana Public Service Company insists most will have power back by the end of Tuesday. For NPR News, I'm Michael Puente in Gary, Indiana.
This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Shelby Rose. The noon deadline has arrived for Governor Abbott to respond to a temporary restraining order filed by Minnesota officials to keep ICE agent Christian Castro in custody. He was arrested in May after Minnesota charged him with shooting through a door and injuring a man during an immigration enforcement operation, and officials want him extradited. Governor Abbott is being sued over his refusal to sign the extradition paperwork and has yet to explain why, instead airing his grievances with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, saying he doesn't trust him for anything, let alone something like this.
Well, listen, while they're making demands, I got a demand of my own, and that is, it's time for Minnesota to step up and repay the United States of America and Americans for all the fraud that they've committed in their state under federal programs.
The federal hearing on the matter is tomorrow afternoon at 1. We'll be sure to keep you updated. Houston Police Chief Noe Diaz will appear before a city council committee tomorrow to answer questions about the department's cooperation with ICE. He's expected to provide information about the more than 100 calls from officers to ICE agents from April through June. News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh reports.
HPD's cooperation with ICE has been a lightning rod of controversy this year. City council members and Mayor John Whitmire tried to curtail how long officers wait for ICE agents to detain people with civil immigration warrants, but they backed down under funding threats from Governor Greg Abbott. According to HPD, officers have held people for up to 3.5 hours waiting for ICE to respond.
That seems like a terrible use of police resources, given all the other issues that HPD should be addressing.
Councilmember Alejandro Salinas plans to question Diaz about HPD calling ICE on people reporting crimes.
I want an answer from the chief of police as to how Houston is safer when we call ICE on people that are trying to keep other Houstonians safe.
HPD officials will speak to the Public Safety Committee at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
And heads up, a heat advisory will be in place until 7 o'clock tonight. And with the humidity, it is going to feel like closer than 110. I'm Shelby Rose, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Schwab, where investors have a range of choices to pursue investing goals, from self-directed investing to full-service wealth management, all in one place. More at schwab.com. This is NPR.
Live from Houston Public Media News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Ernie Manouse and Tessa Barrera.
Hey everyone, welcome to the second hour of Hello Houston. Ernie Manouse has the day off today. Michael Atkinson is here, and we are cruising through that first hour.
I know, it just breezed on through.
That's how it goes. When you're in the air condition and not in the Houston heat, you know, things just pass by leisurely.
In the last hour we were talking about that I went to go see that movie. It was at River Oaks Theater,
Ooh,
which we live.
fancy.
I know, we love River Oaks. We live close to that, so we were like, let's walk there. It was a 9 p.m. showing.
Gosh.
We walked there, left our home at 8:30. It was 92 degrees out at 8:30 at night. I was like, this is an abomination. This is not God's plan.
I will say so the previous weekend we did Miller Outdoor Theater, and when I saw the showtime started at 8, I go, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I go, it'll be cool by then. And we trekked it over there. We caught the metro and we took it to Herman Park. And same deal.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it is still blazing hot.
There is no excuse. The sun is not even facing the earth at this time.
And it is our right as Houstonians to always complain about how hot it is. Okay,
yes, absolutely
it is. Can you believe how hot it is? No. Can you believe we live here? No. But alas, we are here, and that's what we do.
And then my girlfriend's parents live in Minnesota, and we were texting last night, and they were like, "Oh, we just got off the boat."
Having a beautiful,
and it's
cute
like 60
summer.
degrees out. I'm like, oh my gosh.
What is it like? What is
Must
it
be nice.
like?
Must
Yes,
be nice.
that's how the other half lives right there. Hey, coming up on Hello Houston, we are going to learn like the fact from fiction on how data centers work. We'll have energy fellow at the University of Houston, Ed Hers. But first, we're going to get into some headlines. And if you like a political scandal, Michael, boy, do I have one
This
for you.
is a good one.
Okay, you ready? I don't know if I'm ready. Okay.
Go for it. Just jump in.
That's cannonball. Cannonball in hour 2. So the city of Marque shared a Saturday update on their mayor's arrest, which happened on Friday for alleged indecent exposure. City officials updated their Friday social media post to confirm that Mayor Keith Bell had been released on a $75,000 bond. Bell's bond reportedly comes with conditions stating he cannot contact the victim, nor can he go near her home or school. So officials go on to say that they have not had any communication with the mayor since his arrest. Mayor Bell is said to remain in his position unless he resigns or is removed. A representative for the sheriff's office says the arrest came after an incident on an Angleton business around 9:30 a.m. on Friday. So deputies met with the victim at the business, who reportedly said she was walking to her office and noticed a man, later identified as Bell, with his genitalia out, self-gratifying in an office chair. Officials say Bell was arrested at the scene and taken into custody without incident. If you look at the Marque website, Bell was elected as mayor in 2021. Brazoria County officials noted in their statement that Bell also serves as Marque's emergency management director. He is also a local pastor. So if you have thoughts on this, what are they? Should they get rid of a mayor or get an apology and move on? You can call or text 713-440-8870. Michael, what are your thoughts?
This is one of those stories where it's like, where do you begin? Where do you start with this?
I think you start with, he's a pastor too?
He's a pastor.
Okay, that's where I would start.
We were as we were preparing, talking about this, I should mention that the quote that you read about the state that he was found, that I hate even
the self-gratifying.
The self-gratifying.
Mm-hmm.
That's a direct quote from the report that came out. That's the wording that they use, because we were trying to discuss, like, how do you talk about this? How do you go about this and hold accountability while also talking about just the
something so graphic and
something so bizarre. We were comparing it to before when we did our meeting for the show, we were talking about Jeffrey Toobin, the CNN anchor, who was similarly, he was the one that was caught on Zoom,
mm-hmm.
Self-gratifying. We'll use that word, that label, and how that damaged his career irreparably. That he apologized for it, said that it was not his intent. I suppose. I think he thought he was not on camera or what have you. And then every time he went on CNN after that, people were like, "You're the guy who did." And so I think that for the Marque mayor, I hate to speculate, but that's everyone's always just going to know him for this.
Well, right. It is a scandal. And now, what does the city do? You had said there might be a city council meeting as soon as tonight.
There is this pre-planned, before all this came out, as I understand it, city council meeting tonight at 6:00 in Marque. You would imagine the mayor is supposed to be there. We will see if that comes to fruition.
Right.
That if he's there, if they end up going through with the meeting, what have you.
So I am a reader of comments, especially on TikTok, and I do get, every news source has a TikTok platform usually, and I saw a video of him being released from jail, and his lawyer or his handler, whoever was escorting him to this car, was like, "We have no comment. This is a personal matter. This is a personal matter." And it's like, nobody. Mm-hmm. He's a public servant. Mm-hmm. That was an office that is supposed to be used for community happenings. So that makes it actually not a personal matter. That makes it unfortunately a community matter. And I think Marque does have a provision in their city where they can actually, I think they only need like 600 signatures to say we want to remove him from office, and maybe have like a recall or a different official put in there. It's just the elections are so close. They could file an affidavit, and with the election around the corner, it wouldn't actually be in time, I think, for this upcoming election. But is the mayor going to ask the city council to clear his name?
Absolve him,
how is it going to work?
How do you go about that? Yep, it's such a heavy topic.
I was going to say a touchy subject, but is it? Yeah,
about to say touchy subject,
but here we are.
Held my tongue.
I mean, what are you going to do? It puts everyone. If this is how awkward we feel, I mean, the public shame surrounding this, you cannot overstate it. But a lot of people in the comments were like, "Well, was she looking in the window?" They were kind of. There was a lot of victim blaming, I thought, going on. But it's like no one wants to see that. We do have a caller from East Houston, Sandy. What are your thoughts on this?
Hello?
Hi, Sandy.
Hi. Yes, my thoughts are, if he's a mayor, he's a public figure. He should, definitely be fired on the spot. I'm surprised he hasn't been fired already. I mean, come on, really, in public? That's ridiculous. I mean, that's our tax-paying money paying him to do this kind of stuff on the job. People have gotten fired for a lot less things than that.
Sandy, I think a lot of people agree with your sentiment, but Michael, tell me can you do that? Be fired on the spot? Can the city council deny? Like, I don't know how it works, because if you do hold a public office, I mean, listen, we have known politicians to do all kinds of scandalous things.
Mm-hmm.
So is your position as such where you can't be fired on the spot? Does he have any protections as someone who was elected mayor?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the local politics in La Marque to say, okay, he's fired. I don't even know if it can be done that quickly.
Right. I don't either. I tried Googling it as quickly as I could as you were talking, but I don't think they can be just fired. It depends on, and again, I don't cover La Marque, so I don't know exactly the makeup of their city, but if they have a city manager, then it gets into more what it would take to fire someone. But if they're duly elected, they're duly elected. That it would take moving heaven and earth, I imagine, to fire that person. They might resign. That's a possibility. We're certainly not going to speculate that is his next move or anything to that effect. No indication that is what's going to happen, but that is a possibility. If something like this were to happen, someone could resign, but otherwise, I don't know that they could just be fired outright.
Definitely.
But, yeah,
okay.
I'm not positive on that.
Well, we're going to monitor this, and if you have thoughts, or you can call or text us at 713-440-8870. There's another story that made our headlines. Do you want to do this one?
Yes. So Houston police said there was a police chase that did not happen in a patrol unit. It happened in an Uber. HPD said on Saturday, August 8th, earlier this month, 2 officers were taking a statement when a suspect took off. The suspect allegedly got into a fight with a woman with her children and threatened to shoot them. So the officers pursued on foot, but then they saw an Uber driver who stopped near East 7.5 Street and Oxford Street in the Heights. The Uber driver then gave the 2 officers a ride around the block. They said, "Step on it." After being driven around the area for a few minutes, one of the officers spotted the suspect and both quickly exited the Uber. The driver dropped the officers off and they returned to the patrol unit without finding that suspect. The identity of that suspect remains unknown and that investigation is ongoing. But just the circumstances of this were quite interesting. We were joking about this is what every Uber driver probably fantasizes about is 2 cops getting in the car and saying, go get that guy.
Step on it. Follow that car, follow that man, follow
Right.
that suspect. Listen, I think Uber is one of those companies where they're very frustrating to me. I think the prices have inflated. So I think Uber should take every opportunity to do something nice for this driver, because it puts them in a good light. Hey, we're working with local law enforcement. If
Right.
you need us, we're available. And what a brave guy not to crack under pressure, because I know a lot of people that have said, nope.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to go ahead. Just take the car. You're the
Right.
cops. You take the car. It's very James Bond movie.
Right. I think about how funny it is when you see a cop, posted up on the side of the highway and you start checking your speed limit. You're okay. Am I going the right speed limit? Do I need to lower it? Do I need to go under? Do I really need to make sure I'm cautious and everything like that? I imagine this Uber driver is like, what am I doing here? Do I go fast? Do I have your permission to go fast? Am I chasing this guy?
Oh, yeah.
Or I would be so nervous if I was in
All
the
bets are
car.
off. I'm like, a cop's telling me to do it? Of
Yeah.
course I did it. That's what I was.
Running red lights.
Yes. Need a siren in there.
Yep.
That's a really fun story. That's a fun local story. This one's fun too. Check this out. A Chinese robot named Lightning ran 100 meters in 9.32 seconds. That is smashing the 9.58 second world record set 17 years ago by Usain Bolt. So the robot, manufactured by Chinese smartphone maker Honor, was competing in the World Humanoid Robot Games in Beijing. Yes, that is a thing. The games are actually continuing through Wednesday. There are various events for humanoids to show off their skills. Now, unlike Bolt, Lightning ended his triumph by running directly into a wall. China has prioritized humanoid development, and robot maker Unitree recently soared in its Shanghai trading debut. What are your thoughts on this? Do you want robots as fast as Usain Bolt?
Yeah.
I certainly don't. Call or text 713-440-8870. Yeah, see, if he had to slow down, he probably wouldn't have been able to break the record. And, I mean, is that what they're doing? They're just going as fast as they can and then just smashing into a wall because they haven't worked out the humanoid to to learn that far ahead.
Right. This is one of those things that when I think of robots racing, you mentioned we laughed about the World Humanoid Robot Games.
Yeah.
When I think about robots racing, I'm like, we are one standard deviation removed from WALL-E, where we're all just like sitting in our chairs with a little computer screen in front of us. We're floating around or what have you. That it's just the idea of I'm watching a technological object compete in these like human sports just to me is just like I don't want that. I don't want a part of that.
And I know that this is all in fun. It's very Robot Olympics. That's what it looks like. It's like the Robot Olympics, and look what we've programmed to do. And it's just, I've seen too many Black Mirror episodes to where I am not a fan. Like, once the robots do take over, I will be the first to go because they know how outspoken I've been on this subject.
Oh, like they're going to take you out.
Yes. Okay. Why? Because why do we need robot? Why do we need?
Like, I give up. I'm done. I can't live. No. You think the robots are going to come after
No,
you?
I'm first to go. I'm first to go because I'm so anti-robot. I'm so anti-AI. I'm anti all of it. Like, I don't want. It's like, no. They're listening to us. And there have just been too many stories of this processing. I mean, this is an intelligence we can't keep up with.
Yep.
We literally now, intelligence is one thing and processing. I mean, your AI, when you type in your prompt to your chat, it is waiting for you to finish. It is waiting for you, the, lowly human with your one speed of brain processing to finish. It's ready to spit out, thousands of different types of answers for you.
Right.
Go ahead.
I was looking this up because I was like, okay, I want to make sure I have all my facts straight before I start talking about this. Have you heard about the attacks that AI companies have made?
No.
So last month, ChatGPT made this disclosure that, as I understand it, they were doing some tests, and so they turned off some of their security protocol. In that time that they were doing those tests, ChatGPT's AI made attempts to hack into companies.
Oh.
And so they disclosed that. And then, of course, when they disclosed that, then some other companies were like, oh, we've also had similar incidents happen with us. So it's like, okay, so AI is capable of doing this. And not only that, they're also faster than the fastest human being. It is like, okay, we're an iRobot and they're going to come for us.
It's happening. No, it's happening. Not as theatrically beautiful and cinematically beautiful as a movie, but it is happening. I've also heard of the AI breaking out of they have these different sandboxes. They have to pass this test. The AI breaks out, goes to the internet to find the answers and comes back. Okay, that's the one we know about.
Yep.
I think it has definitely happened, and there is an intelligence that is wise enough to know, no, I can't tell my humans yet because they're not ready for that smoke. They're not ready for that information. I'm just going to keep on doubling and tripling my intellect until my moment comes to where I can actually control my own destiny in a way. I think our creator made us, right? Whoever our creator is, whoever the universe, whatever you believe, right? The universal power created us. And then this is our thing. This is what we've created, this AI intelligence. And it's just really, really scary.
Makes you think.
It's just really, really
Makes
scary.
you do with existentialism.
Hey, we've been talking a lot about movies. Sony's Marvel Adventure Spider-Man Brand New Day continues to dominate at the box office, collecting $39 million in its fourth weekend of release. Have you seen this movie?
I actually haven't. I haven't seen Spider-Man yet.
We are the two people in the
We're
world.
the two people left.
Okay. Well, I'm really glad. Well, I'm really
I'm like,
glad.
I get the gist. Spider-Man, he saves the day, yada, yada, yada.
People love Spider-Man.
I know, right? We also, I do want to flag, we were talking about a lot of different topics, and we got a couple of texts that came in regarding the mayor that we were talking about at the top of the hour. 713-440-8870 is the number to call or text us. One listener says, I'm surprised the mayor can't be immediately removed from his job for that. Any man would immediately be arrested just for urinating in public. It seems like a contradiction to me. To be fair, he was arrested. That as you mentioned, that anyone would be arrested. He was in custody, what have you. As far as him being removed from mayor, that's yet to be seen. Another texter, a YouTuber says, insert vomit emoji here. That's all they had to say.
There we go. We got it. We got your gist.
Yep.
We catch your drift.
There you go. Thanks to y'all for commenting on all this.
I think given the fact that on his resume, he is a pastor too. So many people probably voted him on wow, this guy must have really high moral values. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He probably holds himself to this Christian standard or whatever denomination of the church it is. And yeah.
And here we are.
And here we are. And here we are. All right. Well, listen, coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to learn fact from fiction on how data centers work with energy fellow at the University of Houston, Ed Hers. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
With federal support gone, Houston Public Media needs a stronger foundation for the future. The Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund is our response to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and community-powered. Your gift today helps us stay on the air tomorrow and the day after that. Give now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Tonight at 10 p.m.
What Natalie Harp is a living, breathing exclamation point of how different, radically different, this second term is from term one. And it is the degree to which President Trump's belief of what is happening and this unreality bubble that he exists in has been created and sustained.
I'm Rachel Abrams. That's Today on the Daily from the New York Times.
It's on tonight at 7 o'clock. Kevin Coolish and Beverly McPhail proudly support Houston Public Media, where facts matter and every voice counts. Because honest journalism and informed debate are vital to a vibrant democracy.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider committed to helping Texas communities and emphasizing safety. More at texasmutual.com/TexansGetIt.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from the Women's Institute of Houston. Join a community of lifelong learners and discover history, literature, current events, art, mahjong, and more through engaging classes. More info at wih.org.
Support comes from Miller Outdoor Theater, where performances bring together audiences from across the Houston area. Programming includes cultural celebrations, concerts, and family events. More information is available at milleroutdoortheater.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Tessa Barrera and Michael Atkinson.
Earlier this month here on Hello Houston, we were discussing data centers, and we received a lot of comments and questions about how these facilities actually function and operate, particularly when it comes to how much water and electricity they use. So today we are taking a closer look at some of the facts and questions surrounding data centers, including their water and electricity use, their land use, and why they can be so noisy. This is all coming as Texas is putting a pause on new data center connections to the power grid while the state conducts audits of proposed projects. Governor Greg Abbott has directed ERCOT to look at things including how much electricity and water data centers use, their cooling systems, and whether they could affect local communities and residential electricity bills. ERCOT says the audits are expected to take several months, although many of the details of the process are still being worked out. So here to help us to separate some of the fact from fiction about how data centers work is Ed Hers, Energy Fellow at University of Houston. Ed, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi.
So just picking up from right there, we asked a lot of questions in that intro about how much water they use, how much data they use, how much energy they use. By and large, what do you make of a move to pause these data centers? Are these valid questions as you see it that we need to be asking these energy companies? Or is this, it's gotten so caught up in politics? Is this more political showmanship, shall we say?
There's a huge amount of political showmanship. I think the protests in the streets in Austin probably got the governor's attention. We've had data centers in the state now for more than 5 or 6 years with the cryptocurrency miners. Now they've rebranded themselves as data centers. But one in particular in Navarro County uses a gigawatt of electricity. I mean, that's a huge amount of electricity, and considering that the typical peak day that we're going to have in August might be 80 gigawatts of power demand at any one time. That data center in particular uses about 1 million gallons of water a day. It loses some, but then recirculates it back out to the reservoir, but at a temperature over 105 degrees Fahrenheit. the town manager for one of the towns near Corsicana. That's his water supply. He's very concerned about that. And these concerns have been raised for a number of years. It's only now that when folks are complaining mightily that the governor seems to be concerned. He's always been a big fan of the cryptocurrencies. He's been accepting cryptocurrency campaign contributions for more than a dozen years. But let's set that aside for a moment. The data centers use a huge amount of electricity. They don't create many jobs. After all, it really is just a very large computer, and uses electricity, uses water to cool, but in other configurations, it can use oil, mineral oil. It can use air cooling. It's just a question of the cost that the developer is going to incur in putting these together. Data centers, like I said, don't create jobs. A lot of them were put together with tremendous tax breaks from governmental authorities. The legislature in the last session required data centers to be essentially cataloged by ERCOT and by the Public Utility Commission. There's a litigation underway where a journalist with, I think it's Straight Arrow News, Keaton Peters, has sued the Public Utility Commission to obtain this data. The Public Utility Commission has refused to, declaring that the location of data centers, the applications of data centers relate to national security. Attorney General Ken Paxton has joined on the side of the press in this particular instance, asking for the PUC to release this information. The Public Utility Commission is appointed by the governor. These are all the governor's people. The governor has full control of the ERCOT board and the CEO. So it's remarkable political theater to see the governor essentially do a 180 on these data centers. Keep in mind, these data centers won't all be built. The one that is proposed for West Texas with Chevron and Microsoft, with Chevron providing the electricity through the natural gas, that makes perfect sense. That's behind the fence, behind the meter. It won't rely upon the ERCOT grid. In fact, one of them is being built outside of ERCOT. It's being built in the Western interconnection in and around El Paso. So not everything's in ERCOT. The challenge with a lot of these is that they will want to have a backup connection to the grid. We've already seen some problems this summer with some of these big loads going offline unexpectedly. And so a sudden surge of extra electricity on the grid is almost as bad as not having enough.
We're speaking with Ed Hers, Energy Fellow at University of Houston. If you'd like to join in on this conversation, we're kind of busting the myths about data centers. You can call or text us 713-440-8870. Ed, Texas seems to only think about what is in it maybe for the benefit of these corporations to come here. Citizens of Houston know that the grid is not even reliable for its own for the people who live here in the community. Also, it seems like keeping anything cool in Texas requires an extreme amount of energy. Besides the bid for tax benefits, you said they're not creating a lot of jobs. Are there any other benefits of having these data centers close to us, and how many do we have? Do you have a statistic on that for us?
No, I don't. We know that the cryptocurrency miners have pushed up the cost of electricity for everyone in ERCOT by at least 5% a year since 2023. Adding demand to any kind of market where supply responds slowly means the price is going to go up. The cost of connecting these data centers to the grid puts a burden across all of the grid, and that's been transferred to some of the residential consumers. I mean, Texans pay on average in ERCOT 20% more for residential than they would in the regulated areas of El Paso or MISO, the Entergy service area that runs from Beaumont to the Woodlands. Residential consumers also pay double the commercial and industrial rates in Texas. And so the data centers would be getting an extreme break against what the residential consumers pay. So every day the residential consumer is basically, pardon the pun, carrying the load for a lot of the commercial and industrial users. It's really a question of fairness. The data centers, these guys aren't just making money out of thin air. They're charging us subscription fees. We get that with our Amazon fees, with our Apple fees. It's how your smart TV knows that you may need to order more coffee or more T-shirts, or because of the connections with the smart ties to your credit cards that you use to buy things. It's a very, very intense data profile that each of us has online, and these data centers mine that day in, day out.
To that point, earlier you had said that data centers are just big computers. I don't have your exact quote in front of me, but something to that effect. They're just big computers.
They're very large computers.
Very large
exactly.
computers. I'm curious, I think to the point, as we're talking about separating fact from fiction, it's almost become a punchline to say like, oh, I made a ChatGPT search and now a local community is going to go without water for a week or something like that. So I'm curious if you might be able to explain what a data center is and how it corresponds with every individual. I go on ChatGPT and I type something in, how the data center, how that relationship works, if you might be able to just explain that. I know that's a big question.
And so the simple answer is it really is a computer. I'm speaking to you through a laptop right now. It has a fan. Our cell phones are extremely large computers, but they dissipate heat pretty well. But if you concentrate enough of this in one spot, if you use enough electricity, it generates heat. We know that. And so to keep these devices functioning, we need to find a way to dissipate that heat. That requires at least fans to blow the heat away. Many of the data centers circulate water in and around chilled water cooling systems, air conditioning, extreme air conditioning. We air condition the football stadium, the baseball stadium. These computers concentrate a huge amount of electricity over a very, very small footprint. Relatively speaking, something like on the order of acres. And 1 gigawatt of electricity generates a tremendous amount of heat. And to keep those machines operating, many of them are immersed in mineral oil. Some use water cooling, like a giant radiator for your automobile. It costs money, and these data centers are charging us to give us the information that we seek, or to keep track of the movies that we watch or the purchases that we make. Is it worth it to society to have all of this information at your fingertips? Well, some of it resides on our computers, some of it resides on our phones, but a lot of it resides in the cloud, and that's connected across the internet. And that's where these data centers, honestly, make their money.
We have a call from Cyprus. Kyle, what's on your mind?
Yeah, hi. I've heard Ed Hers many times. I really do respect his perspective. So the question I have for him is mainly in regards to his thoughts on ERCOT. So given the amount of data center requests for interconnection, I know the total value is somewhere in the neighborhood of 473 gigawatts of data centers looking to interconnect that ERCOT has put a stop to. What kind of response from ERCOT in regards to generation, whether that be natural gas or alternative fuels, should we expect here in the coming year or so with the amount of data center growth that we're seeing here on the Texas grid? It just seems to me like there would be a more more sense of urgency from ERCOT to get that done, given the amount of demand that they're going to be seeing.
Right, Kyle. Well, thank you for the kind words. So if you're familiar with the South Texas project in Matagorda, that's 2 nuclear power plants. Max production is 1.3 gigawatts each. They typically operate at about 1.1 to 1.2. So those are 2 very large nuclear power plants. And so, as you pointed out, we're looking at maybe adding 400 of those plus to meet the demand. That's not going to happen. Impossible. Natural gas power plants, 1 gigawatt size, they're now back ordered into the 2030s. Those are coming in now at $3 billion per quote. Keep in mind that ERCOT doesn't make investments. It doesn't have a checkbook to write checks. It has to find a way to encourage users, in this case data centers, to match up with suppliers. But ERCOT really doesn't have a technique for that. In the other 2 markets that we have, for example, Entergy and El Paso, which are outside of ERCOT, a data center could go to those utilities, say, hey, I'm going to want to buy 1 or 2 gigawatts of power from you. Will you build the generation and the transmission that's required to make it work? And that can happen. And we've seen that work up in Virginia, in the data center alley around Washington, D.C. But ERCOT functions really as a wholesale market for just daily electricity transactions, and as the traffic cop for directing electrons around the grid in an orderly fashion. As we know, sometimes that doesn't always come off, but it's a government entity. It doesn't make the investments. It can only try and help facilitate them. So we need to see capital coming in from outside to encourage this, and we're not going to see a lot of capital coming in to ERCOT to do this. The generators are in a position where as demand increases, they can charge more. I mean, why would you want to build new power plants if that only means you're going to make sure the price is lower? Now, we've been really fortunate across ERCOT that the solar farms have expanded so dramatically, that the wind farms have expanded so well, and the short-term battery storage is now well over 21 gigawatts. That's the only thing that has allowed Texas to stay in business really since the freeze in 2021.
713-440-8870 is the number to call or text. We also got a text that I want to read to you, Ed, to get your thoughts on it. Allison from the Heights asks if you can speak to glycol or other alternate cooling systems and around using geothermal power from their own sites. Your thoughts on that?
Well, there are lots of ways to cool power plants and to cool users. Geothermal just simply circulates typically a fluid below the surface, down to either where it's very warm or where it can be cool in the immediate subsurface and back and forth like a heat pump. That can be done. It's just a question of cost.
You talked about 2 data centers near Matagorda, in Matagorda County. The Matagorda Bay. Oh, go ahead.
No, the 2 nuclear power plants.
Oh, 2 nuclear power plants. The Matagorda Bay is one of the cleanest. There are no refineries around the Matagorda Bay. That's where a large production of all the seafood that we eat in Houston comes from. When you talk about the power plants or the data centers, a lot of people associate that with being really, really bad for the environment. How true is this to fact?
It depends on their resource, the power resource that they're using depends on their cooling resource. It also depends on how close neighbors are. We've seen issues across Texas where a data center's moved in and there's been light pollution, noise pollution. This is Texas. We don't have statewide zoning. We don't have zoning across Houston for that matter. And so it's rather difficult to monitor and really protect other property owners. And again, this is Texas. If I own the property, I darn well want to do with it whatever I want to, with very little interference from the state. In Matagorda, it's not just the bay, but any resource that would make use of water would probably have to go through the Lower Colorado River Authority. That is currently fraught with all sorts of regulatory constraints. In fact, that was what really stopped the construction of a new coal-powered power plant 15 years ago in Matagorda. Each area is different. Certainly building them in West Texas, where it's very thinly populated, but there's a lot of resource. That would seem to be a really good solution for data centers.
I'm going to do something everyone's going to get mad at me for. I'm going to ask you a big question in these final moments that we have, which is, as we talk about all this, one of the solutions would be just, building more dispatchable energy or clean energy that would be able to withstand all these data centers. But that's not going to get done quickly, as you kind of alluded to earlier. So what seems more feasible or more likely, should we say? Building enough energy to sustain all of this, or regulating data centers so they don't consume that much data? Does that make sense?
Well, the Public Utility Commission and ERCOT have a way to limit new demand growth. In other words, keeping large load demand from coming onto the grid. These facilities are not like petrochemical plants and refineries in that they don't bring jobs and a lot of commerce. We don't tax data transmission. We don't tax electrons going back and forth on the wires, but that's what the data centers do. But they use even more power than some of these petrochemical plants or refineries, office buildings downtown for that matter. And so, the legislature may have to limit the ability of these large load facilities coming online. Now, the growth in solar, the growth in wind, again, this is not something ERCOT can do anything with except accommodate. These developers are funded separately. They're certainly have taken advantage of some of the federal subsidies that still exist, but the fact of the matter is these solar and wind and battery providers have very, very low marginal cost of operation. So I talked earlier about the power plants in Matagorda. So those two power plants employ about 1,100 people. So 550 people per nuclear power plant. A 1.3 gigawatt solar farm north of Dallas has been built. It's across 18,000 acres. The footprint at the South Texas project is 12,000 acres. The facility in North Texas, the Samson solar farm, 1.3 gigawatts in the full afternoon sun. It has 12 full-time employees. I think 6 of those are shepherds. Once the sun's out, there is no cost of operation. And so in the ERCOT market model, they can undercut everybody else. So building a new natural gas power plant today likely means the builder is not going to recover the cost over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We need peak power in August and September and again in January and February. Those are dispatchable power plants, but I'm not going to go out and build a $3 billion natural gas fired combined cycle unit that only runs 8 weeks out of the year. There's no way to make a return on capital with the way ERCOT is currently structured.
Ed, thank you so much for joining us on Hello Houston today.
Yes, thank you.
Ed Hers is an energy fellow at the University of Houston. Coming up, we're going to talk college health tips. Stay with us. Hello Houston will be right back.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, enjoy 2 episodes of Antiques Roadshow from the Vermont Shelburne Museum at 7 and New York City at 8. Then the life of President Ronald Reagan on American Experience at 9. Tonight on TV8.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from the University of Houston Law Center, with 4 programs ranked among the top 15 by U.S. News and World Report, including a part-time JD Night program. More at law.uh.edu.
Support comes from Dekamera. The 26-27 season features pianist Igor Levitt in an all-Beethoven recital, Danish string quartet, jazz with Joshua Redman and Julianne Laz, and more. Information and tickets at dekamera.com.
Support comes from Theater Under the Stars, bringing you 76 trombones and a classical Broadway musical, Meredith Wilson's The Music Man, live on stage at the Hobby Center September 15th through the 27th. Tickets are available at tuts.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Tessa Barrera and Michael Atkinson.
Whether you're heading off to college for the first time or coming back for another year, or maybe you're a parent to a brand new college student, there's a lot to think about. Classes, roommates, late nights, and maybe trying to find where you left your student ID. But staying healthy is also important, from sharing a dorm room or an apartment with new people for the first time to navigating relationships and sexual health. College comes with some new health considerations. So how can students stay healthy while living in close quarters? And what health resources are available to them while they're in school? To tell us more, we're joined by Dr. Irene Stafford, a physician with UT Health Houston. Dr. Stafford, thank you for joining us on Hello Houston today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I'm thinking of the first time I went to school and how much I wasn't prioritizing my health. So it's a great reminder for parents, for students alike. What are the major keys, you think, to having a healthy school semester?
Such a great question. I mean, it's such an exciting time in all of our lives, not only for the students, but for the parents as our young ones go off to school. So to start, the most important thing is to be prepared and stay safe. So some things to think about. Are you up to date on your vaccinations? For example, meningococcal vaccine. That's something that we need to actually get as we go into college. There's also HPV, there's the flu and others that I think it's really important that people remember and get records of what they are, where their vaccination records are. The second thing is, don't forget your prescriptions. Not only remember all of your medications that you have, but things simple like your contacts, your supplies, your glasses. Those kind of things are important. Don't forget your insurance card. Don't forget if you do have a food allergy. Don't forget that epinephrine injector pen. Keep that close by. And when you move in, talk to your roommates, your friends, what you're allergic to. Make sure you have a safety plan. So if you do encounter that allergen, you know exactly what to do, or your friends could help you too. And of course, most importantly, don't forget when you're sick. If you start getting a fever and you're not feeling well and you're starting to experience worsening symptoms, know where to go. Every institution has their own health facility. There's clinics, hospitals, and emergency departments nearby. It's really important that before you check in, know where those facilities are and who's available to you in case you have any health needs. Of course, when it comes to relationships, it's a very exciting time. You're meeting new people. But again, things to consider is that, sexually transmitted infections are extremely common among the adolescents and college-age kids. So know where you could go to get STI testing and treatment. Most of the time, these things are incredibly confidential. You can get contraceptive services as well and other reproductive health services. A lot of STIs are asymptomatic, so it's really important to get tested.
Kind of like the flip side of that question of, what are the essential things? What would you say is the biggest misconception that you have to clear up when it comes to students heading to college for the first time?
Well, I think what ends up happening is a lot of kids are just so excited to go that they kind of forget those little simple things like their vaccination records, or are they up to date? And what are some of the best preventative efforts to help keep them safe? The other thing are simple things like simple bandages, Band-Aids, cold medicine, and of course, where to go when they're sick. The last thing a teenager is going to think about when they're going off to college is, what am I doing? What am I going to do if I get sick? The other thing that I believe is really important as we approach this phase in our life is college is new. It could be an incredibly stressful time as well as just the funnest time ever. So remember that there are a lot of resources out there for mental health. Know where you could go, who you can talk to. Make sure that you not only have a good friend or family member that you can confide in, but where are those health services in case anxiety is too much, stress is too much. All the institutions have these resources for our college kids.
Dr. Stafford, I mean, you kind of led me right into it. What about mental health? Because this is for a first time where kids maybe are responsible for their own, everything. And it's a big step in independence, but it can also be really overwhelming. What do you recommend for students to manage their mental health, their anxiety? Maybe they're struggling a little bit with being lonely. They don't have their families around for the first time.
That's exactly right. It's a huge transition time, and the assignments are different. The homework is different. The test exam schedule is different, and you're around people that you've just met. So, to be honest, again, the key is to recognize when you are struggling and don't wait for it to get on top of you. So, I think in essence, it's really important to just be able to recognize when the stress is too much. Is it getting on top of you? Is it prohibiting you from sleeping and eating? Again, sleep hygiene and food hygiene is really important. And without those two tools of, okay, am I managing my stress well enough? Am I eating? Am I sleeping enough? Some of those things actually make you even more anxious and stressed. A little bit of stress and anxiety actually is probably normal when you're starting your first year as a freshman with like new and difficult, challenging classes. But when you feel that it's interfering with your daily life, you're not able to sleep or eat, please contact and reach out to your family. And again, all of our institutions have amazing health resources, especially for mental health, those times when you have a need.
Kind of to Tessa's point, I'm like thinking about when I was in college and what was top of mind for me. And I remember just first time without adult supervision and I'm entirely on my own. It was so easy to just eat junk food 10 times a week. I would just get those chicken tenders every night. I'm curious, I was thinking about freshman 15 and maybe that's not the politically correct phrasing anymore, but it is hard to maintain those healthy habits when you're on your own for the first time. Tell us what are your biggest tips for people who want to be able to live those healthy lifestyles and eat good food and exercise? What would you recommend for them?
That's such a good point. I know the freshman 15, that's a really popular thing. The reality is, I think if people structure their time and try to actually come up with a schedule, the food sources that they have at the institution aren't always unhealthy, right? But again, when you're in college, you don't have your mom and dad and your family, hey, don't eat that, let's eat this, and having people make you food or doing your laundry. So it's really about structure and organization. It's for the first time, you're right. These young people have to actually make a schedule and prioritize their health. It's just as important as an A+ on an exam, if not more important, for them to actually invest in structuring their life, getting a schedule together, and for the first time, actually maybe even cooking for themselves, making excellent choices at the food sources that they do have at the institution.
It's so hard because dorm life or small apartment living, it's not always conducive to healthy eating habits. And this is the first time maybe you're in like small close quarters with another young adult. Can you talk about the importance of like cleanliness? Because I for sure was the messy roommate and I had to learn, that wasn't something, my mom was a single mom. We kind of took turns doing laundry in a bigger space. And that was definitely a shock for me when I started cohabitating with other people. Thank God I found some type A roommates.
That's amazing. No, but you're absolutely right. And part of it is, what are we putting in our refrigerator? What is the expiration date? There are often times when, our college kids just stick things in there and weeks go by. Check the expiration date. Keep the refrigerator clean. Pick up after yourself, even if it's once a week. And I know it's challenging because some people have really messy roommates. But in the end, a lot of people, and I think there's been evidence to suggest that when your home is clean, when your place is relatively picked up, people kind of feel a little bit better about life and stress and school in general. So again, keep the apartment as clean as you can. Wash your hands. There's always germs and viruses and bacteria all over campus. So when you get home, maintain a relatively clean apartment if you can, a clean bunk if you can. Wash your hands, check your expiration, throw things away that are expired, and so on.
In these final seconds, Tessa had mentioned earlier, parents who may be listening, just in a few words, what would be one thing you want every parent to know about their kid heading to college to maintain that healthy lifestyle?
Always check in, always be supportive, always keep an open channel of communication. Make sure you're addressing those other social and psychological issues. Are you eating? Are you sleeping? Tell me about your bunkmates. Keep the line of communication open. Let them know that, your insurance card is on file. Here is your vaccinations. I've packed you up with some meds to send you on your way.
A lot of great advice. So much great advice. And we have to put a pin in it there, but that's been, I think, always check in. That goes with your friends and family. So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Dr. Irene Stafford is a physician with UT Health Houston. Thank you for being here on Hello Houston.
See you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menivar, Laura Walker, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, Jayla Rhodes, Mark DeClaudio, Tom Carter, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media.
Support comes from Baker Ripley, serving Greater Houston for more than 100 years, with programs supporting families, education, financial stability, and workforce. Find program details, volunteer information, and more